part of which Aminu Suleiman had just read the questions. Who is going to be entrusted? And if that person is a Christian or a Muslim, what happened to an atheist who wants his own right to be protected too? So I think it's better we mellow down this and make.
Adebanjo. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Olufemi Adebanjo. I do represent Adimosho Federal Constituency of Lagos State. Mr. Speaker, the only reason why I'm supporting this is for the employment. We have hundreds of religions in Nigeria, and there are many violations. An example is those people that we do the night vigil at night, and the noise of the speaker will cover about 8 kilometers, 5 kilometers. We have some that worship with animals. The odor, the foul odor disturbs the neighbors. All these, they've been complaining to the local government. The local government do take action. And they also go to the environmental department of the state, and the state takes action concerning the pollution. They've been tackling this every now and then, and there are violations every day. So if there's going to be a special one, a special ministry to take care of the complaints, it will improve the employment, and that is my support for the motion. Thank you.
Honorable Yama. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I'm Engineer Morigi Ogbede Hama. I represent the people of Oredo Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I rise to support the amendment of this bill. But first of all, it is important to state that it is quite unfortunate that national issues should be in our front burner today. If you travel outside this country, if you meet people, you hardly hear them ask you what religion do you belong to, what religion do you belong to. National interest and national issues should be our key focus. However, having brought forward this amendment, it was well thought out because we cannot stay away from the fact and the truth that there are religious violations. They exist amongst us in different religions that exist in our society. National Human Rights Commission is saddled with the responsibility. But to what extent does the law empower them to directly treat issues of these religious issues having to do with these religious matters and the sensitivity behind it? So I completely support. I want to thank the sponsor of this bill that yes, a special department under that commission should be set so that they can have direct focus on the religious abuse, the issues regarding religions as they differ in our society. But most importantly, it is unfortunate that we are still where we are today. We should be talking about national issues. Religious issues have continuously divided us, and if we do not handle it with care, it will continue to divide us and affect our progress. Thank you very much.
Honorable Jerry.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. My colleagues, my name is Jerry Alabot. I'm from Imo State, representing Olo, Osun, and Ori East Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, if you refer to the second standard of the prayers we do here every day during our sitting, it says that God should give us the grace to do only those things that can promote the unity, happiness, and prosperity of this country. Mr. Speaker, if you capture the mood of the nation now, and even the mood of this House, I would say that this amendment, coming from a seasoned lawyer and a son, should be looked at from the perspective of seeing whether it will promote the unity, the peace and prosperity of not only the country, but this house we're in. Then I would advise that if we capture the mood of this nation and the mood of this house, I would suggest that Bajok, SAN, should be advised to see whether we are prepared to accept this amendment. I have to advise, as somebody who is a senior member of this house too, that this is not the period for this type of amendment. Therefore, I suggest that he will, without loss of dignity, step down this bill to further notice. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
I want to support maybe.
Honorable Shaulu.
Right Honorable Speaker, my distinguished colleagues, my name is Remande Shaulu Kwewu. I represent Takum, Donga, Usa, and Yantu Federal Constituency in Taraba State. Right Honorable Speaker and my colleagues, this bill that seeks to create a department for the Human Rights Commission, and within the Human Rights Commission is a very important and good bill that has followed the current international best practices around the world. The United States today has a commission set up by Parliament specifically to look at the issues of religious tolerance and religious freedom. Last year, I was in the EU Parliament. The EU Parliament also has created a commission specifically to treat issues of religious freedom and violations. Honorable Speaker, if you look at the International Global Index on State Fragility, Nigeria is one of the states that are that are very fragile, at the very bottom among the last 10. And one of the reasons that is stated there is that there are problems of religious discrimination. There are problems of religious problems within Nigeria. If you take a copy of of the current global terror index, you also see these facts clearly stated there. I don't want us to act as if we are the ostrich, that we have a problem that we are saying it does not exist. These problems do exist, and the proper place to treat them is within the Human Rights Commission. It's not outside. Honorable Speaker, I want to also call your attention to the fact that in 2014, 2015, there's a global report that talks about religious freedom. And the records it has is that more Christians are killed in Nigeria. Please listen to me. More Christians are killed in Nigeria for their faith than all Christians killed in the world. The report does exist, an international report. Honorable Speaker, the point about this amendment is not to create problems, is to reduce problems so that we can treat these problems in-house. I'm aware that the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom last year downgraded Nigeria from category 2 to category 1, comparing Nigeria with countries such as Afghanistan. And the reason is that there is no place within Nigeria that you can go and lay complaints about your perception that your religious rights have been tampered with. So it is important to specifically create this to meet international practice. Finally, Mr. Speaker, the point also that we must make, that I think we should be bold to make, is that there are letters that I have today in my hands of the Bauchi State Sharia Commission writing to Christian families in Bauchi. I have the letters that their daughter has become a Christian, or their wife. There's even one that a woman, married woman, that she has become a Muslim, so the husband does not have access to her. These issues should not be internationalized. They should be treated within the Human Rights Commission. And sir, these letters are found in the United States, in the United Nations, and across the world. So this bill is important so that we address these issues ourselves. We should not pretend that there is no problem. There are issues. Thank you very much.
Honorable Akintola.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. My name is Taiwo Michael Akintola. I represent the people of Egbeda on our federal constituency. I'm from Oyo State. Right Honorable Speaker, let me start by appreciating the mover of this bill. However, there are some basic things that I think we have to look at in this bill. It is true that the Section 1 of the Constitution says that our Constitution is supreme and sacred, and everything that we must do to ensure that we defend it needs to be done. What is a little bit my own issue with this bill is that by law, it is going to be an aberration if we say that we want to set up a department, even inside the law here. This bill can go, yes, it can go for whatever, but I think it has to be checked. If there are other things that we need to insert in the act, existing act, to ensure that violations are checked, I think these are the things that we need to go to set up a department within the act. I think it is a little bit of an aberration. Thank you.
Toby Okechukwu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, my name is Toby Okechukwu. I represent an area of Goji River Federal Constituency from Enugu State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to contribute to this motion, to this request to amend the Act on the National Human Rights Commission. Mr. Speaker, any right that is enshrined in our Constitution is meant to be respected. And the framework to ensure that any right is protected is a duty for Parliament to do. From the bill that has been proposed for amendment by our colleague, I would rather say that our fundamental rights, the responsibility to protect them is with the Human Rights Commission. What we are looking for in Sokoto is in our Sokoto. Presently, I do not think that there is anything whatsoever that prevents the Human Rights Commission from protecting the religious freedom of Nigerians. I do not think so. I agree with the intent of the bill, but I do not believe that departments should be created by a function of law. it should be as per need. And I believe strongly that if, as a parliament, we move a motion and ask them, as per the exigencies of the moment, that should create a department requiring the protection of religious freedom, they will do so. If you have to enact a law, amend a law to create departments in organizations, it will be very, very difficult to operate. This is a right that is one of our fundamental rights that has been enacted, that is inside our constitution from 33 to 46. All those come within the scope and responsibility of the Human Rights Commission. And where there are breaches, and they are not doing the protecting the religious rights of Nigerians, it means they are failing in their duty. So I believe strongly that I agree with the intent of the intention, but I do not think it requires an amendment of the act, because this is a department that can easily be created based on the need to protect this right that is enshrined in section 38 of our constitution.
Thank you very much. Honorable Babale Bashir.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm from Kano State, and my name is Babale Bashir. And I won't follow the line of Toby Okechu. I quite appreciate the fact we have issues and challenges with regard to fundamental human rights in Nigeria. But, Mr. Speaker, we need to ask ourselves certain basic questions. Those rights, as enshrined in the Nigerian Constitution, they are spelled out by human beings, and at the same time violated by human beings. The question we need to ask ourselves, we as Nigerians, are we human enough to protect the provision of Nigerian constitutions? Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, as a Muslim, I know whatever the rights spelled out by Nigerian constitution are the rights which Islam as a religion spelled out over 1,400 years ago. Mr. Speaker, the right to peaceful association, the right to live, freedom of movement, freedom of speech. That is why even in my religion, Islam, it is clearly spelled out in a chapter of the Quran that lakum dinukum waliyadin. Have your religion and let me have mine. Practice your religion, let me practice mine. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, if we go deep into Islamic religion today, the meaning of Islam means peace. The whole issue of fundamental human rights is centered toward peaceful. So now the issue is about asking ourselves, are we ready for dialogue and peace in Nigeria as human beings? If we are to create 1,001 agencies, department, and directorate, in as much as we as human beings, we are not ready to protect the fundamental right of Nigerians, it will be a story of the past. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleague, here we are, we have Human Rights Commission as the mother agency. We are saying the mother agency is incapable of handling the challenges of fundamental human rights in Nigeria, that we need a directorate. A situation whereby a father cannot handle a situation, how dare you expect the child to handle that situation? Mr. Speaker, if the mother agency, that is Human Rights Commission, cannot handle human rights challenges in Nigeria, I don't believe, and I quite doubt, if a directorate under Human Rights Commission can handle those challenges. Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, let me share an experience with you. Today, in this chamber, when Mr. Speaker come, we are asked to rise up. It is against my religious belief. But because this is what is stipulated in the order and proceeding of this house, I always stood up. We are asked to observe 1 minute silence. It is against our religious belief, but our people do partake on it. Why? Because we believe in one nation. Mr. Speaker, in Kano today, we have what we call Islamic court. It is only meant for Muslims and those who feel that they want have issue in the Islamic case court. Today in Abuja, we have Sharia court. We still have customary court. Those who feel that they are not comfortable with the conventional court or with the Islamic Muslim court, Sharia court, they can go to customary court. So, Mr. Speaker, the whole issue we have in Nigeria, honorable colleagues, is that of social reorientation. We need to ask ourselves, as individuals, at what level are we protecting the right, the fundamental right of Nigerians? It's not about having directors. Let's ask ourselves, the political actors, Mr. President, the governors, the Senate, National Assembly members, the State Assembly members, religious leaders, that we have fundamental right enshrined in our Constitution. At what level are we protecting them? So, Mr. Speaker, for me, I feel we don't need a directorate. The mother agency, that is the Human Rights Commission, is capable enough of handling all challenges and issues related to fundamental abuse in Nigeria. And what we need now is a situation whereby, as Nigerians, we'll continue to checkmate it, and we'll continue to preach for peaceful coexistence in Nigeria, and the issue of preaching of religious harmony in Nigeria and respect for one another. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Pajok. You have a right of reply. You've had members pleaded with you to see whether you can actually, or you still want to go ahead, but I want to give you that right of reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, all honorable colleagues who have contributed and those who have been yet to speak. Mr. Speaker, before I make my submission on this matter, let me say, without any fear of contradiction, that I cannot and I will never do anything that will divide not just this house, but this country. Because I am aware of the oath I took, and that's the oath to protect the unity of Nigeria. Mr. Speaker, having said so, I've also listened to my colleagues. If you look at the last page of my brief, because some of my colleagues have said we should enlighten Nigerians on how to tolerate one another. And that's why I put in that department should sensitize the public on the safe exercise of religious rights to avoid abuse and curb violence. It means that I was thinking of giving additional responsibility to the Human Rights Commission, not just to, let's say, prosecute those who are violating, but to also enlighten Nigerians and sensitize them for the need to tolerate each other. But, Mr. Speaker, the law is about human beings. If, as of now, even the purport of this amendment is not being understood in the way I intended, certainly I cannot go further. Because the law is made for Nigerians. So, if there are even disagreements right from this, from this floor, I would not want to be the one to, let's say, be the harbinger of division, or someone that is bringing about an amendment that is not properly understood. Any law that should become a law should be understood by the makers of the law themselves, and we at the National Assembly know to make the law. So, Mr. Speaker, what I'm saying is that I didn't intend to cause any division, and I stated in my brief that this is not to give any religious advantage over any other, but because there have been complaints by some citizens that their rights are being violated. So I thought maybe we should give additional responsibility to the Human Rights Commission. But having said so, like I mentioned, I have good friends across all the religions. I also have my constituents that belong to all the religions. I cannot say I would prefer one to the other. And that's why I said our constitution says there is freedom of religion. In fact, it's a fundamental human right given to every human being. So I will plead that let me step down on this bill, but in stepping it down, let me plead to all members that we should be ambassadors. We should be ambassadors of peace. We should be ambassadors of tolerance in whatever we do. And I pray that our country will be more peaceful, particularly when it comes to religious issues. I thank Mr.
Thank you very much, Honorable Pajok. The bill is stepped down by the leave of the House. Honorable colleagues, the fourth order of the day is a motion on request for extension of referral time to enable the Committee on Power conclude work on the call for caution and clarification in Calabar National Integrated Power Projects, World Bank partial risk guarantee stroke investigation of the status stroke condition of power projects agreement signed by the Nigerian Bulk Electricity Trading PLC with electricity generation companies and their liabilities effect to the Nigerian government. Standing in the name of Honorable Daniel Asuko. Honorable Asuko is invited to move the motion.
The Right Honorable Speaker, distinguished colleagues of the Green Chamber, my name is Honorable Dan Asuko. I represent Akam Kwabiase Federal Constituency, and I'm from Cross River State. Distinguished colleagues, the motion for request for extension of referral time to enable the Committee on Power conclude work on the call for caution and clarification in the Calabar National Integrated Power Project World Bank partial risk guarantee and investigate the status and condition of power purchase agreements signed by the Nigerian Bulk Electricity Trading PLC with electricity generation companies and the liabilities effect to the Nigerian government. The House recalls that on Thursday, 10th November 2016, the House referred to the Committee on Power the motion on calls for caution and clarification in the Calabar National Integrated Power Project World Bank partial risk guarantee to investigate the status and conditions of power purchase agreements signed by the Nigerian Bulk Electricity Trading Company with electricity generation companies and their liability effect to the Nigerian government. The House also recalls that the motion mandated the committee to convene a public hearing of critical stakeholders to clarify and evaluate the World Bank partial risk guarantee as it relates to the Nigerian Integrated Power Project and make recommendations to the House within 4 weeks. The House is aware that the committee has since commenced work on the referral but has not yet concluded work to enable it present its report pursuant to Order 17, Rule 3(1)G of the Standing Orders of the House. The House resolves to grant the Committee on Power an extension of time of 1 month to enable it conclude the assignment and present its report to the House for further legislative action. I so move, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Any second, Honorable Bina.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Obina Chidoka, representing Idemili North, Idemili South Federal Constituency of Anambra State. I rise this afternoon, Mr. Speaker, to second the motion as ably moved by my honorable colleague. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Daniel Asuko, I don't think. Okay, those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. But that nay is heavy. The ayes have it. The The fifth order of the day is a motion on a call to investigate the lack of prosecutions of vandals of electricity cables and equipment in Nigeria, standing in the name of Honorable Francis Charles Udok. Honorable Udok is invited to move the motion.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Francis Charles Udok, member representing Ikorabas, Ubare, Eastern Obolo, and from Akwa Ibom. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move a motion for a call to investigate the lack of prosecution of vandals of electricity, cables, and equipment in Nigeria. The House notes several reports by electricity company and the Nigerian police force of continuing vandalization of various electrical equipment, which is one of the major reasons for power failure all over the federation. Also note that the reports in the media that the country loses about 500 million naira annually as a result of vandalization of electrical equipment. Aware that Section 1, 9, and 10 of the Miscellaneous Offences Outcap M17 Law of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 prescribe punishment for vandalization of power equipment, but observe that there have hardly been any report of prosecution of any vandals in accordance with the provision of the law. Concerned by the situation where vandals have been left far too long in carrying out their nefarious activities without any form of sanction being meted out on them, a development that has put them into becoming more daring in their sinister plots. The House resolved to mandate the Committee on Power, Police Affairs, Interior, National Security and Intelligence, and Federal Judiciary to critically examine the lack of prosecution of vandals of electricity cable and equipment and make recommendation within 6 weeks on the way to put an end to these nefarious activities of the vandals. I so move.
Any seconder? Yes, Madam Bene.
Honorable Speaker, my honorable colleagues, I'm Honorable Mrs. Dora Timato, member representing the good and transferring people of Vandikia Constitution Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second a motion moved by my honorable colleague. I so second.
This motion is investigative. Honorable Shagari, that is the nature of the motion. Now, if I have to give the floor, then I have to give the floor to the mover of the motion first. Okay, you want to amend the prayer? Okay, you can go ahead then.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My amendment, Aminu Shehu Shagari, Yabo Shagari constituency, Sokoto State. My amendment is that we substitute the Committee on Federal Judiciary with the Committee on Justice, because judiciary deals with the judicial formations, while the Committee on Justice deals with the Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Justice, who are responsible for prosecution. That's my amendment.
Okay, go and give Honorable Shagari to write his amendment. His amendment is that we should substitute judiciary for justice. Any seconder? Yes, Honorable More.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My dear colleagues, Engineer Solomon Maren is my name, and I represent the good people of Mangu Bokos Federal Constituency. I am from the home of peace and tourism, Plateau State. I rise to second the amendment ably moved by my colleague. I so second.
Those in favor of the amendment say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So those in support of the motion as amended say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The sixth order of the day is a motion on need to investigate incident of school examination malpractices in some secondary schools in Nigeria, standing in the name of Honorable Yusuf Buba Yakub. Honorable Yakub is invited to move the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Yusuf Buba Yakub. I represent Gombe Home Federal Constituency from Adamawa State. I rise to move a motion on the need to investigate the incidents of examination malpractices in some secondary schools in Nigeria. The The House notes that apart from public schools that are owned by governments at various levels, individuals, religious organizations, and corporate bodies can establish and manage schools subject to the compliance with the regulations laid down by ministries of education at both the federal and state level. Aware that during the West African Examination Council, WAEC, and National Examination Council, NECO examinations, some secondary schools, particularly those that are commonly referred to as special centers, routinely indulge in examination malpractices, most often with the knowledge and connivance of the school authorities. Cognizant that candidates who pass the examinations through malpractices will not be able to defend the certificates that have been awarded to them and could at best be referred to as half-baked graduates who are ill-prepared for the challenges of the 21st century. The House resolved to urge the federal and state ministries of education to strictly supervise the examination processes of secondary schools with a view to stamping out examination malpractices. 2. Mandate the Committee on Basic Education and Services to interfere with relevant stakeholders on the matter and report back in 6 weeks for further legislative action. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Any seconder? Honorable Darlington.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, my name is Darlington Nwokocha. I represent Isialango North, Isialango South Federal Constituency. I'm from Abia State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second this motion. I hereby second.
This motion truly is investigative in nature, so I therefore go ahead and put the question. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against... Oh, you have an amendment? Okay. Is that the amendment? Okay, Honorable Jerry, move your amendment.
Right, Honorable Speaker, my colleagues. My name is Jerry Arabas. I'm from Imo State, representing our lower son in the Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker and colleagues, the amendment, they need to investigate the incidence of examination malpractices in some special centers for West African examination and National Examination Council examination in Nigeria. Because, Mr. Speaker, if you look at the...
Honorable Jerry, you want to amend the title of the motion. You can't do that. You can only do that by substantive motion. It's the prayer of the motion that you can amend. You can't amend the title of the motion. So those in favor of the motions... Okay. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable colleagues, the seventh order of the day is a motion on need to establish the technical and operational status of Nigerian registered commercial / private aircraft to boost the safety, protection, and confidence of passengers flying the Nigerian airspace. Standing in the name of Honorable Abubakar Amuda Konike, Honorable Konike is invited to move the motion.
Thank you, the Right Honorable Speaker, my colleagues. I'm Dr. Amuda Konike Abubakar, representing Ilorin East, Ilorin South Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, my colleagues are from Kwara State, the state of Harmony. I hereby rise to move the motion on the need to establish the technical and operational status of Nigerian registered commercial and private aircraft to boost the safety, protection, and confidence of passengers flying the Nigerian airspace. The House notes that the compliance with safety standards in the aviation subsector is sacrosanct, given the sensitivity as well as extremely low tolerance for margins of error. Aware that aviation safety measures are rather proactive measures to mitigate against air mishaps, as well as to enhance smooth operations and comfort of passengers. Also aware that recent incidents in the aviation subsector are indicative that a holistic review and assessment of the level of compliance and adherence to safety standards are pertinent. Also note that ideally, there must be periodic aircraft maintenance, which includes overhaul, repair, inspection, or modification of an aircraft or aircraft component, and maintenance, which incorporates such tasks as ensuring compliance with airworthiness directives. Aware of the national regulations which are coordinated under international standards maintained by the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO. Disturbed that there exists a high degree of complicity between airline operators in Nigeria and the regulatory bodies charged with the safety of our airspace and passengers, particularly the Directorate of Quality Assurance and Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, as well as the Accident Investigation Bureau, which has compromised the safety standards of our aviation subsector. Worried that non-compliance with applicable airworthiness requirements exposes consumers and equipment to high-level risk, potential dangers, and discomfort, which can easily be averted by carrying out appropriate due diligence periodically. I hereby invite the House to resolve as follows. Mandate the Committee on Aviation and Commerce to investigate as well as carry out critical audits of all registered aircraft with a view to ascertaining their airworthiness, compliance with applicable operational methods, set safety standards and procedures, as well as evaluate the operational environment of the aviation subsector with a view to enhancing improved operational standards as well as convenience of users. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I so move.
Any seconder? Honorable Zaka Ibrahim.
Thank you very much, the Right Honorable Speaker. Honorable Ibrahim Ayokuli Isiaka is my name. I represent the very good people of Ifo Ewekoro Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Ogun State, and I rise to second the motion ably moved by Honorable Kaneke. I so second, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, sir.
This motion too is investigative in nature. I therefore put the question. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The eighth order of the day is a motion on need for an appraisal and submission of list of ratified treaties standing in the name of Honorable Sergius Ose Ogun. Honorable Ogun is invited to move the motion.
Hey, you are here. You are here.
Mr. Speaker, my highly esteemed colleagues, I am Sergius Ose Ogun. I represent Eastern Southeast, Eastern Northeast, and I am from Edo State. Mr. Speaker, I will step you down for further legislative input. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Sergius, the rule of the House is when your matter is mentioned and you are on the floor, you are the appropriate person to speak on it. You are requesting the chairman of Rules and Business to step down on your behalf. What if he did that and you stood up to say no? What do we do? So take your seat. Motion step down by the leave of the House. The ninth order of the day is a motion on need to include the teaching of leadership principles in the curriculum of secondary school and tertiary institutions standing in the name of Honorable Olajide Olatubosun. Honorable Olatubosun is invited to move the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Olajide Olatubosun, representing Atisbo, Shaki East, and Shaki West Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Oyo State. My motion is on the need to include the teaching of leadership principles in the curriculum of secondary schools and tertiary institutions in Nigeria. The House notes that education is the key that unlocks the development of personal and national potentials and equips every person with knowledge, skills, attitude, and values to enable him or her contribute meaningfully towards national development. The House also notes that the goals of higher education as specified in the Nigeria's national policy on education include acquisition of both physical and intellectual skills, which will enable individuals to be self-reliant and useful members of the society. Aware that the education curriculum in secondary schools and tertiary institutions in Nigeria have been developed and continually changed to cater for the needs and growth of the society. Also aware that those curricula have undergone constant changes. There are no provisions for subjects and courses that will keep students with requisite leadership skills and knowledge to make them future leaders and persons capable of engaging in global competitiveness. Concerned that the absence of subjects or courses on leadership and development in the education curriculum in the secondary schools and tertiary institutions has left the youths ill-equipped and with little or no capacity to assume leadership roles in the society. Disturbed that the new additional subjects introduced by the National Educational Research and Development Council, NERDC, and implemented are essential because they include subjects such as entrepreneurial skills, but did not include the teaching of leadership, which is an essential subject for future leaders. The House resolves to mandate the Committees on Basic Education and Tertiary Education and Services to liaise with relevant authorities to ensure the inclusion of the teaching of leadership principles and practice in the curriculum of secondary schools and tertiary institutions in Nigeria, and to report within 6 weeks for further legislative action. I so.
Honorable Prestige, second.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Honorable Prestigious, the member representing Abanot, Abasa Federal Constituency. I rise to second this motion, heavily moved by my colleague, Honorable Ola. I so second, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Olajide.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Olajide Olatubosun, representing Atisbo, Shaki East and Shaki West Federal Constituency. I'm from Oyo State. Mr. Speaker, the issue of leadership is a major issue in this country today, and it is the singular factor that differentiates nations that are great and those one referred to as third world countries. If our youths, our children, if they must take up leadership role in the future, we have to equip them adequately. And it has to be deliberate. We must make conscious efforts. We must take practical steps to ensure that the curriculum of our schools, issues of leadership principles and practices, we teach our children from secondary SS1 up to polytechnic and university. Sir, a few months ago in this chamber, we all passed the Not Too Young to Run bill. It means if that piece of legislation becomes law tomorrow, more of our young people will be seeking for elective positions. Now, our future begins today. How do we ensure that these young people have the right skills, have the right exposure to issues of leadership before we hand over government or governance to them? In this country, we have statesmen, the late Sadana of Sokoto, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, Nnamdi Azikiwe, and of recent, the late Chief Ekweme was buried. These are people, they are nationalists, statesmen. Why don't we teach our children about their leadership style, what they did in their own time to make the country better? Mr. Speaker, when I was doing some research on this subject, I read about Singapore. In 1965, it was a third world country with GDP per capita of $500. But that country had a fortune of somebody called Lee Kuan Yew that became its prime minister. And by 2013, Singapore had a GDP per capita of $55,000 US, one of the highest in the world. These things don't happen by sitting and expecting things to just evolve. We need to start teaching our children that leadership is about creating a vision, is about inspiring people, looking at the bigger picture, so that in our parliament, in another 20 or 30 years, issue of religion or ethnic sentiments will not divide us, because we have brought up our youth or children in a way that they are broad-minded and they look at the bigger picture. Mr. Speaker and my colleagues, I want you to support this motion because our future is the present. If you don't take the right steps today, that future that we all desired, we may not get it, God forbid. Thank you so much, and God bless Nigeria.
Honorable Yakub.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Yusuf Buba Yakub. I represent Gombe on Federal Constituency. I rise to support this very, very important motion moved by my honorable colleague. Mr. Speaker, Nigeria is a country that is blessed with abundant resources, both human and material. But our major problem is leadership. Leadership is a fundamental problem bedeviling Nigeria. And so we need to start training our young ones with the skill of leadership if we want to overcome this bedeviling problem that has been bringing our country backward. Mr. Speaker, we won't leave the issue of training to the parents alone. We need to include it in our curriculum so that our young ones will be trained in every skill that pertains to leadership. So, Mr. Speaker, I rise to fully support this motion, and I call on my fellow colleagues to please pass this motion with the speed of the light. Thank you.
So the question is, those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The 10th order of the day is a motion on urgent need to create Ikoti-Ekpene State constituency of Akwa Ibom State, standing in the name of Honorable Emmanuel Apan. Emmanuel Apan is invited to move the motion. Honorable Emmanuel Akpan, yes, you'll be allowed to move your motion, but why don't you consider a situation where this kind of a thing is better handled by writing INEC directly and stating the statistics that will make you establish the fact that you need more constituency to be created instead of having a motion on it, because if you do, there's nothing stopping every other members to come in a torrential manner by requesting for state constituencies through the National Assembly. Since the INEC has the power to create, my advice is for you to write. But if you insist, or Chairman Rules and Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to appeal to Honorable Akpan to step down these motions and take it administratively with INEC by providing, as given, in accordance with the hint given by the Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I remain well Honorable Emmanuel Akpan, representing the wonderful political people of Ghana, is shared in federal constituency. The Speaker, distinguished colleagues, the motion was to urge the INEC. That's the intent of the motion. It was to urge the INEC to create, because it is their constitutional role for them to create. And we know that this should have been done according to the Constitution in every 10 years. But since 1997, they have not done so. So the motion was just to urge them, because we know that it's their right to do so.
Honorable Akpan, why don't you look at it this way? What if you now come to the floor of the House and say we should urge the National Assembly of Federal Government to create Ikoti Ekpene states? You want our resolution on that, because it's similar to what you are looking for. So, and by the time we resolve on it, unless you want to reinforce the fact that our resolutions are just mere advisory and that we are just wasting time. So, what you are asking for is more of constitutional matter than something that a motion should be raised on. So, like I said, my advice is you have all the right in the world to write as a representative of your constituency and request for the creation of a state constituency by providing the statistical data that will help INEC to create such a constituency. If we take this one, we are only using a motion to give effect to constitutional provisions, which is not in line with what we do here.
Mr. Speaker, once again, my name is Honorable Emmanuel Akpan. Having listened to the chair, I rise to step down this motion for another legislative day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Akpan. Thank you. Motion step down by the leave of the House. Honorable colleagues, the 11th order of the day is a motion on urgent need to stem the rising tide of moral decadence and indiscipline in tertiary institutions in Nigeria, standing in the name of Honorable Segun Adekola Alexander. Honorable Alexander Segun Adekola is invited to move the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and my honorable colleagues. My name is Honorable Segun Alexander Adekola, member representing Ekiti South Federal Constituency 1 of Ekiti State. Mr. Speaker, sir, my motion is on urgent need to stem the rising tide of moral decadence and indiscipline in tertiary institutions in Nigeria. The House notes with concern the persistent rising tide of moral decadence and gross indiscipline among the youth in tertiary institutions across the country, which is leading to lowering of social moral values, thereby endangering the future of the youth. The House observes that our institutions of learning, where moral values ought to be acquired along with knowledge, have become showground for indecent dressing, drug abuse, cultism, and a conduit for different kinds of immoral activities. They are aware that in the past, decency, especially in dressing, was identified as a vital feature and bedrock of the African and Nigerian culture. But now, indecent dressing in tertiary institutions has become the order of the day, resulting in high level of prostitution and promiscuity among the youth. The House therefore concerned about the negative implications of indecent dressing, especially among female students who often fall victim of rape on campus, with many of them being lured into prostitution by peer influence and could also be tempted to become members of one cult group or the others. The House therefore resolved to mandate the Committee on Tertiary Education and Services to liaise with the Federal Ministry of Education to ascertain measures that can be put in place to redress as a matter of urgency the rising tide of moral decadence and indiscipline in tertiary institutions across the nation. They have also called on the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture, the National Orientation Agency, NOAA, and religious organizations to carry out concerted media campaigns and public awareness to inculcate in the youth at tertiary institutions the ideal of moral uprightness and decent dressing, and also educate them on the dangers inherent in antisocial behaviors that are adversely affecting the society. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Any seconder? No, you can't say no seconder. There are so many people raising up their hand. Dennis Agbo.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Honorable Dennis Ndamode Agbo. I represent Udenu Ibweze North Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Enugu State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second this motion. I so second.
The only advice I would love to give Honorable Alexander Adekola is that his motion is intrinsically present in the one we had some moments ago when we talk about the leadership. Very, very present. And so because of that, and not to allow your honorable colleagues to speak against your motion, you can take a cue from what I've said.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If you watch closely, I was raising up my hand to contribute to that motion. I have some other points engendered in this motion that I need to tell him what. So you like the decent dressing in schools? You like nudity? Okay, because I really want to discuss about our moral value that is degrading. But, well, let me, by the leave of the house, I will come in other form. Let me step down the...
Thank you very much, Honorable Alexander Adekola. Motion step down by the leave of the House. Honorable colleagues, the 12th order of the day is a consideration of report of the Committee on Industry on a bill for an act to make it mandatory for tires to bear manufacturing and expiry dates and to prohibit the importation of used, substandard and expired tires and for related matters. Honorable members will recall that the report was laid on Thursday, 6th July 2017, and I invite Honorable Abubakar Moriki to move for his consideration. Instead, Honorable Isa Jafar will move for the consideration of the report.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I am Mohammed Jafar Ibrahim. I represent Nasarawa Federal Constituency of Nasarawa State. I rise to move that the House do consider the report of the Committee on Industry on a bill for an act to make it mandatory for tires to bear manufacturing and expiry dates and to prohibit the importation of used, substandard, and expired tires and for other related matters. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Any seconder? Honorable Yakub Balogun.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Yakub Abiodu Balogun. I represent the very industrious people of Lagos Island 2 Federal Constituency. I am from Lagos State. I stand to support the motion moved by my colleagues with regards to the used and substandard tires. I so support.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The 13th order of the day is a consideration of report of the Nigeria-Saudi Arabia Parliamentary Friendship and Hajj affairs on the highlights of the 2017 Hajj. Honorable members will recall that the report was laid on Tuesday, 16th January 2018, and I invite Honorable Abdullahi Balarabe Salami to move for his consideration. Chairman, Rules and Business.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Salame, you have been given the floor.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I am Dr. Abdullahi Balarabe Salami, member representing Wadawa Ilela Federal Constituency. May I seek that the House do consider the report of Nigerian and Saudi Arabian Parliamentary Friendship and Hajj affairs on the highlights of the 2017 Hajj and approve the recommendation therein.
What? Any seconder?
Mr. Speaker, honorable members, my name is Garba Umar Kunde, representing Sumaila Taka constituency. I am from Kano State. I do second the motion presented by my colleague for Nigerian Saudi Arabia Parliamentary Friendship and the Hajj affairs. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Empty.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I hereby move that the House do resolve the committee of the Court to consider reports.
Chairman, Rules and Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second the motion. Ably moved by the acting leader of the House.
Those in favor of the motion that the House do resolve to the Committee of the Whole to consider report say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. House hereby resolves to the Committee of the Whole to consider report. Honorable colleagues, the first report to be considered is that of a bill for an act to make it mandatory for tires to bear manufacturing and expiry dates and to prohibit the importation of used, substandard and expired tires for related matters. I now invite Honorable Ibrahim to speak to the report.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, Chairman, honorable colleagues, report on the Committee on Industry on a bill for an act to make it mandatory to prohibit the importation of used, substandard and expired tires and for the other related matters. Introduction. The House of Representatives on Thursday, 21st July 2006, completed debates on the bill for an act to make it mandatory for tires to bear manufacturing and expiry dates and to prohibit the importation of used, substandard and expired tires for related matters, and referred same to the Committee on Industry and Customs for further legislative actions. Summary of the bill. The bill seeks to provide a legal framework to make it mandatory for all tires manufactured or imported into Nigeria to bear manufacturing and expiry dates. It also seeks to prohibit the sale of used, substandard and expired tires in Nigeria. The bill consists of 14 clauses. The bill in clauses 1 to 4 empowers the SON to enforce the provisions of those clauses and equally vests on the Federal Road Safety Commission, the Nigerian Customs Service, and the Vehicle Inspectorate Office powers to arrest, prosecute offenders under the bill. The bill created offences thereunder, and courts vested with jurisdiction to try those offences and impose punishments. Modus operandi.
I think we are all paying attention to this particular report. This is a report that deals with only tires in terms of manufacturer and expiry date. And I was just asking whether provisions are not made for things like this in the act that set up Standard Organization of Nigeria. And so I will ask the sponsor of the bill and come back to rules and business and whoever that has any information to give us. But definitely this must be part of what is being, carried out in Standard Organization of Nigeria. This cannot be a stand-alone bill. So, Honorable Balogun.
Mr. Chairman, for yielding the floor to me. The bill actually is intended to clarify the system that is in place to ameliorate it and make it more meaningful. What we are actually saying is that tires for now, you see what is written on tires as expiry date to just be 22/17. That means 22nd week of a year out of 52 weeks, 22nd week of a year, which is around June. 17 means 2017. So they will expect somebody buying the tire to now add 4 years to the expiry date. What the bill is seeking after is that there should be clarity. Many of us don't go to the market to buy these tires. Even the mechanics, they will just go to buy tires without actually without actually understanding even the date of manufacture. So the bill is just out to say that the date of manufacture must be well spelled out so that anybody who wants to buy tires, either you want to add 3 years to it or 4 years to it to know the expiry date, you do that. So what I'm saying is that there is no act that actually compel the manufacturers to explicitly write out for any layman to know the manufacturing date.
This can be that not can be, I think is domiciled in Standard Organization of Nigeria, and what you are just requesting for is an administrative process because the bill is just standing alone. Then what does the Standard Organization of Nigeria do on matters of tires? They burn tires every day and they take those such actions based on a particular thing. So I will ask honorable colleagues to contribute and see, because the opinion here is that this one should be looked vis-a-vis the Standard Organization of Nigeria Act. Yeah.
Chairman, I wanted to just answer your question about Standard Organization of Nigeria. In the body of the report, it says here clearly that on page 2, it says of particular note was the submission of the Standard Organization of Nigeria SON, which pointed out that clauses 1 to 7 of the bill are related to its functions as enumerated in the SON Act 2015. So you're right, it's in the Standard Organization Act. And my brother Chika just told me, he brought me up to date that this is a global practice. You don't manufacture tires in Nigeria. It's a global, the dating is a global thing. You know, unless you want to stop importing tires into Nigeria. That's the way it's done all over the world. We used to manufacture tires, but we don't manufacture tires.
I sell tires. Treat the desirability of this bill. You have spoken from this one. Then Zachary, I'll give you the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I know that as to the question of the leader is that any tire that has a destination must act in consonance with the laws of that country. So there's nothing wrong in now saying that any tire heading to Nigeria for the Nigerian market must have spelled out expiry date. I don't know. No, it's desirable. As it exists now, sir, there's a global expiry date that is written, but it's technical. Because if you look at the tires, if you see any tire, even the road safety arrest for that right now, they will look at the tire and tell you, but if you look at it as a layman, you might not be able to fathom it. But it's there.
I want members to get my line of thinking that this particular bill, the functions of this bill are already being carried out by Standard Organization of Nigeria. That is the point. So administratively, we can now begin to urge them to begin to specify dates, and so for clarification, this bill cannot stand alone. Who executes it? So you have a right of reply. You have a right of reply. Let me listen to Chika, then Pajok, then I'll come to this column.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Actually, I want to just clarify that issue of that date. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, nobody imports tire that is specifically for Nigerian market. We goes to the market, the international market, and import our tire, buy our tires. Mostly you find the substandard tires are those ones that somebody went to a manufacturer to manufacture for him to bring to Nigeria, which usually reduce the quality. But most of the standard tires are global standard. We don't import for Nigeria market. I have them, I sell them, let it be on record, even before now.
Okay, let the commercial people of Aba speak now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I think, Mr. Speaker, I would differ a little bit from the last speaker's point of view. Places like America, they have what they call, this is American spec, an American standard. you do it according to their standards. Whatever is coming there, if it's not up to the standards, you take it back. I recall some years ago, tires done by Goodyear and other companies outside the United States, straight from China that came into America, were all recalled. Over 70-something, million tires were recalled. Even cars. And here in China and other places where these tires are made, some of these importers also go there to make tires or to give them specifications of tires they are going to make specifically for Nigeria that are less in standard. And at the end of the day, because people believe that there is no clear-cut indication of that expiring manufacturer's date and this, they will hide under that and bring these substandard tires into this country and people will buy it believing they are standard. So I'm of the opinion that this bill is desirable and it should stand the test of time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Honorable Kudaji, go back to your seat. Honorable Kudaji.
Thank you, Chairman. Sir, honorable colleagues, I was just looking at the law, the Standards Organizational Law of Nigeria, Section 5, subsections E, F, and G, if I may read them. 5.1 says, subject to the provisions of Section 4 of this Act and any other law in that regard, the organization, that is SON, EFG, compile an inventory of products in Nigeria requiring standardization. F, compile Nigerian industrial standard specifications. G, develop methods for testing materials, supplies, and equipment, including items purchased, whether locally manufactured or imported, for use of development of government of the Federation or a state and private establishment. And H, establish an import and export product surveillance, certification, and conformity assessment scheme. We can go on and on. I'm just trying to fortify what you say, that it's better for us to have to amend some because if you look at even the bill, they only say inscribe boldly the manufacturing date on the tires. But I think that may not do justice to what even the standard law is saying. Because if we go and if we, let's say, do the needful by amending the standard organizational law to now get some technical inputs to now describe how those products, whether it's tires or else, can be specified, it will be in conformity with the law. And Nigeria, as a sovereign country, has a right to make a law that these are the standards of Nigeria. Anybody importing goods into the country must comply with our own laws. So I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Honorable Adeogun, from legal point, because what we are treating is it desirable or do we amend standard organization of Nigerian law?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to add to it that there are best practices. You cannot make assumptions as far as God is concerned. The mere fact that imported tires carry this 4-year term is not conclusive that you are infringing on any law. If we have our own law that says it must be 4 years, then it becomes an infraction of the law. So the mere fact that all the tires you can see 4-year expiration is not enough to hold anybody. If what I wanted us to clear is that if SON Act contains this specification that tires must be 4 years, that would have cleared it. But to me, this law is designed. Since from what our colleague has just read out, there is no place to say that that has been inserted in SON. If they are doing by intuition, and if anybody negates over it, you discover that there will be no law that it has been infracted. So it is this law that will make it an infraction, that if it doesn't carry 4 years, it becomes, you have offended against the law. So, Mr. Chairman, I think this amendment is desirable.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Dr. Bodia Yoren. I want to be on the same page with the learned sake. To consider this bill is to duplicate effort. This bill, whatever objective
has been captured under the Standard Organization of Nigerian Act. And if there is any amendment, if there is any addition, it is a bill to amend. The merit or not merit is not the issue. What we are saying is that can we have another INEC law? Can we have another INEC law or another KAMA talking about companies registration? Talking about standards of any product. There is already an existing act, which is the Standard Organization of Nigeria. It has been read to us. So if it is not comprehensive enough, a bill should be brought to amend that one, not another separate act in its entirety. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
One cannot be unending. We know where the problem is now. This is either you say it's an amendment to the Standard Organization of Nigeria Act. Don't talk about this bill. If we are talking about this bill, we are just saying we don't. It has to be Standard Organization of Nigeria Amendment, and we will now put the statistics of or specifications of what we want. It's a simple thing. Honorable Karimi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, sir. I want to say that we cannot have a complete law as we see need for changes in our laws. We amend. The Standard Organization of Nigeria Act, as it is today, doesn't carry anything about tires. And it doesn't also mean that Standard Organization of Nigeria can create residual laws about products, other products, and all that. But it doesn't also mean, sir, you allow me to.
The report you have, before I give Honorable Yakub a final right of reply. The report itself, summary of the report, 3.2. The organization made their position individually to the committees, and the summary of which is that they are in agreement with the intents and mischief the bill seeks to cure. Of particular note was the submission of the Standard Organization of Nigeria, which pointed out that clauses 1 to 7 of the bill are related to its functions as enumerated in Standard Organization Act 2015. Honorable Pajok has read the Standard Organization Act that any material at all manufactured either in Nigeria or overseas. So we are not saying this one is not good, but it just pick out the specifications, put it in Standard Organization of Nigeria as amendment, that's all. But to not say a bill should stand alone on tires. Then tomorrow somebody will come with the toothpick and somebody will come catch up. But they said all materials manufactured either here in Nigeria or so it's just an amendment to Standard Organization of Nigeria. It's not about nobody is saying that we should not put specification, but it should be there. And for the fact that they also appeared to and confirmed the fact that clauses 1 to 7 of about 14 clauses here are already in tandem with what they do. It's not about much, it's about just amending. So, Honorable Balogun.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to say specifically, well, they may talk about toothpick or whatever, but the rate at which expired tires have been killing us in this country is alarming. And the fact that there are two legs, excuse me, sir.
Order, honorable colleagues.
Excuse me, sir. There are two legs on the bill. Number one is that the expiry date should be well written, and again, some standard tires should be banned from coming in. Yes, standard organizations are there, and yet we have so many some standard tires in the market. So this law will now make them to sit right. This law will now make them. There are two legs to the bill. One is that an ordinary illiterate driver should be able to know that
the
date of expiration is there. It should be clearly stated. The way it is written now, we can have our specification from a commercial area in Lagos. You can tell the Chinese or the Americans or anybody the type of thing you want. We should have Nigerian specification. Thorough one that should be this thing. Yes. Thank you.
You have done a very good job. Nobody is ever throwing away your bill. That is not the intendment. What we are always saying is you will be given the opportunity to go back and collate all the specifications you want on the tires to now be part of the amendment of the Act of the Standard Organization. Nobody is. In fact, everybody will come back and support you the way they have supported you today. Because you are putting a good effort, and of course it is desirable. We know what expired tire means to driving. So nobody is throwing away your bill. But for now to have a bill that will stand alone when we already have an institution that is performing the function, it shows that. So nobody's, and in fact we can even mandate the rules and business to make sure that whatever you now bring is fast-tracked in a manner that it can be dealt with in the next 1 to 2 months. And we come back to the committee of the whole and you make your amendment. You are still the owner of the bill. We still believe that the bill is important to us and that it should be taken. So what we are only saying is that and finally on this submission, we have assured Honorable Balogun we will all see to make sure that this bill is incorporated in total organization. But even in your own bill, clause 8 of it, enforcement, the Standard Organization of Nigerians have authority to enforce section 1 to 7. That is the bill itself that we are about to consider. So we are now neither here nor there. So, Chairman, Rules and Business, this bill is important to us, but it should come as an amendment to the Standard Organization of Nigeria Act. So, Aribalugo, thank you very much, and that is the ruling.
Order. Honorable Chief, order.
The next report to be considered is the report of Nigeria-Saudi Arabia Parliamentary Friendship and Hajj Affairs on highlights of 2017 Hajj. And I invite Honorable Salame to speak to the report.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman, my colleagues, and Honorable Dr. Abdullah Balarabi Salame.
Order.
Let's listen to his report, his briefing. Then when we get to the consideration, then you can begin to pick each one after the other. You can't raise the point of the other globally on the report that has come this far. You can only raise issues or recommendations. So, Dr. Salame, you will raise the fundamentals when we get there.
Order.
Mr. Chairman.
Honorable Keita, I'm not giving you the floor. Take your seat. Dr. Salame.
Honorable Keita, sit down.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. I rise to seek the indulgence of my honorable colleagues to consider the report of the House Committee on Nigeria and Saudi Arabian Parliamentary Friendship and Hajj Affairs on the highlight of the 2017 Hajj and approve the recommendations therein. One, comment.
Order, honorable colleagues. Honorable Chika.
Comment.
Order.
The National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, NACON, for the successful 2017 Hajj exercise and pray the 2018 Hajj exercise will be better. Two, the Nigerian Saudi Arabian Parliamentary Friendship and the Hajj Affairs should henceforth be the singular oversight body of the House on Hajj Affairs. Number three, that NACON should find ways of reducing Honorable, as we can see, the recommendations are there in our vote and proceedings, and this committee, as it was created and it was given mandate to oversight the Hajj affairs of Nigerian pilgrims, which more than 96,000 pilgrims participate. We oversight the Hajj exercise in the last year and this year. This committee, this assignment was given to this committee, and we have been doing it based on the resolution of this House, based on 5 supporting documents. One, Mr. Speaker assigned this committee to continue with the Hajj oversight in his approval that I have it here with me. And he also directed the committee on House rules while the committee is amending the final amendment that this House made on House rules. It was reflected, he directed the House rule to reflect that Hajj affairs henceforth should be oversight by the Nigerian Saudi Arabian Parliamentary Representative Committee, and it was reflected in the report. It was tabled here, deliberate, and approved by this House. And the following day, on 23rd March 2015, the vote and proceeding of this House, which I have here, carried the same amendment. Item K, that was pilgrimage. It was removed. It was deleted by the resolution of this House. It was reflected in the committee, report of the committee of the House Rules Committee. It was reflected in the vote and proceeding of 23rd March of 2015, which is the same date on our rules that is on our hand. Besides that, there is no any other amendment made on the rules. But unfortunately, certain paragraphs were inserted with no support of the resolution of this House, with no support of the report of the House Rules Committee. So these are our supporting documents, the approval of Mr. Speaker, the report,
order.
And item K, let me read it please. Item K21, Doc 10. Okay. Thank you very much.
Well, for the avoidance of doubt, I'm holding the 9th edition of our rule books here. And order 44, my name is Ahmed Bubaketa, representing Kancho Kusading of Katsina State. Straight to rule 44 of this. This is the latest version of our rule book. And taking from what order 44 I said. But before then, there shall be a committee, there shall be a committee to be known as Committee on Foreign Affairs, consisting of not more than 30 members, constituted at the commencement of the life of the House. After it, there are so many clauses, but of interest to us here, which is incontrovertible, is item number PQRST. P, oversight of the Nigerian Friendship Association of Brazil, China, Saudi Arabia, France, Israel, United Kingdom, and United States of America. Oversight of the Hajj Commission. Oversight of the Hajj Commission. Oversight of the Nigerian Christian Pilgrims Board. Oversight of diplomatic and consular services on pilgrimage. Oversight of the ministry responsible of foreign affairs and its parastatals, save those assigned to other committees. So, Mr. Speaker,
just listen. I will allow you, but allow me to apply the rule of the House. The rule of the House is I can rule on his point of order. If I rule on his point of order, it's going to automatically shut you out. But I will listen. I will give you the floor. But always allow me to apply the rule of the House. So now talk before I take a ruling on his. If I follow the rule of the House and I rule because I will sustain that order, there is no order you can cite again that will supersede this. But I will give you the floor.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, all that my colleague moved is an illegal. Okay, I am referring to the resolution of this House of 23rd March 2016. the vote and proceeding and the report. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay, I am referring you to the resolution of the House vote and proceedings of 23rd March 2016, which is the final. I mean, okay. Then when you go page in that proceeding, vote and proceeding, page 1446, number 77, item 21, 10 Roman figure 9 in bracket, Committee on Foreign Affairs. Delete sub-rule K and insert K, diplomatic and consular matters relating to repatriation. In bracket, Honorable E.A. Jeff Bukuru, Federal Constituency, agreed to. This is one. Second, the report of the House Rules, amendment of the House Rules, which was presented here and agreed. Based on it, the vote and proceedings followed the next day. And it read as this. Number 9 in their amendment, number 9, page 11, number 9, Committee on Foreign Affairs. Amend sub-rule J, pilgrimage in bracket, to read J, diplomatic and consular, K, diplomatic and consular, diplomatic and consular matters relating to pilgrimage, matters relating to repatriation. These are the recommendations. No, what I'm saying. Let me read it for you second time. The Committee on Foreign Affairs. The committee, this is recommended in order to specify the scope of the mandate of the committee over pilgrimage and repatriation. I think you heard me very well. It is the Committee on Foreign Affairs. So it was deleted from the
Chairman, Rules and Business.
Sir, yes.
What? Order.
Yeah,
order, honorable colleagues.
Chairman,
order, honorable colleagues.
Chairman, truly, that would not be fair, too fair, in the sense that, not true. Chairman, I'm at a loss, especially because I don't want to start bringing, as far as I'm concerned, we have the rules. We have the rules. If there's anything that has not gone on correctly, it's by bringing an application to amend what is not there. I don't want to get, because there has been too much water under the bridge on as far as this matter is concerned. So we should just go strictly by what the rule says. If for any reason the rules do not contain what is supposed to be there, there's a procedure for inclusion in the rules.
That is what you have treated. As the Chairman, Rules and Business, you said we should go by the rule. And whatever that is not contained in the rule, the procedure must be followed for it to contain it. So by that, my rule is this. Mukala, you want to rule? So please listen. First, I sustain the order of Honorable Keita, because that is the standard, that's the order that we are using now, and that rule is sustained. And of course, later we have to advise all our friendship group that they are set up specifically to pass their reports through the substantive committee of the House. That is the normal thing. So because of that, I sustain the order of Honorable Keita, and that this report should pass through the Committee on Foreign Relations. Empty.
Honorable Chairman, honorable members, I hereby move that the House do revert to plenary to report progress.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise to second the motion as ably moved by the acting leader of the House. I so second.
House hereby revert back to plenary to report progress.
Order, honorable colleagues. Order. Honorable Keita, have your seat. Honorable Keita, sit down.
Honorable colleagues, the House in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Industry on a bill for now to make it mandatory for tires to bear manufacturing and expiry dates and prohibit the importation of used, substandard and expired tires and for other related matters and defer consideration of the report. The House in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Nigeria-Saudi Arabia Parliamentary Friendship and Hajj Affairs on the highlight of the 2017 Hajj and defer consideration of the report. Empty.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I remain Mohammed Tar Munguno. I represent Martin Munguno, Ganze Federal Constituency of Borno State. I hereby move that the House do adopt the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Chairman, rules and business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second the motion as ably moved by the acting leader of the House. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Empty.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I remain Mohammed Tahir Munguno. I represent Martin Munguno, Ganze Federal Constituency of Borno State. I hereby move that
Honorable colleagues, the House is in session.
Tuesday, the 27th of February.
Honorable Aliu, the House is in session.
Chairman, rules and
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second the motion for adjournment as moved by the acting leader of the House. I so second.
The House stands adjourned till Tuesday, 27th of February 2018, 11 a.m.